I just wanted to do this as an example of basically how a lot of British like public services are just collapsing under the weight of all the new people, and even though we're getting rampant taxation all the time and taxes are always going up, that the public services get less and less. Well, I remember, like, look at this, driving test backlog cannot get much worse as average waiting time reaches 22 weeks. 22 weeks to get a driving test. Now, I remember back when I did my test, you're talking, when did I pass my test? I passed my test when I was 20. So you're talking like 17 years ago, right? It was 2 weeks from a theory test, and I think I managed to get like a driving test appointment the next week. I booked up and I think I phoned up on like a Tuesday and I got it on like the Monday. It took me 2 times to pass my test, and the first one I failed on. I'll put that to the end. It wasn't even my fault. I was furious. Learner drivers are being forced to wait more than 5 months to book a slot at 4 out of 5 test centres, new figures show. Some 258 locations in Britain had the maximum possible waiting time of 24 weeks for a test as of May 5th, which is 81% of all sites. That is up from 161 at the start of the year. AA Driving School, which obtained these figures from the Driver and Vehicle Standards Agency, warned the situation cannot get much worse. Yes, it can, and it will. The average waiting time across all test centres has reached 22 weeks, up from 14 weeks in February of 2024. The DVSA attributes the backlog to an increase in demand and some people booking their test much earlier than before. Officials hope an increase in the number of tests being conducted will bring waiting times down. The number of future bookings in the DFSA system was 122,000 higher in June compared with the same month last year. It's because a lot of foreigners who already know how to drive are coming over here, but they don't have a British license, so they're not actually able to drive the cars and do their Deliveroo deliveries and all the other stuff that they need, like those little cash in hand jobs. So they need to get a British license, which means they're all here and they're booking tests. So that's why illegal immigration and just mass migration itself is what's contributing towards it, because we're not breeding enough. We're not breeding enough to have these types of numbers, right? So who's booking all the tests? But anyway, public spending watchdog, the National Audit Office, recently announced it would investigate the root causes of delays to booking tests and how the DVSA is responding. Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander said in April the Labour government inherited an enormous backlog but was acting fast. No, you're not. She told the Commons Transport Select Committee her department aimed to reduce the average waiting time to 7 weeks by summer 2026. Now, bear in mind, 17 years ago, there was no waiting list or backlog. You just phoned up and booked an appointment, and it was like the next week. Right? That was what it was like 17 years ago. Things were better in the past, weren't they? I wonder what changed. The government consultation on amending the test booking system closed last week. This featured a plan aimed at stopping bots mass booking new slots so that they can be resold on the black market for inflated prices. The Department for Transport also instructed the DVSA to offer additional overtime payments to incentivise instructors to conduct more tests. Staff at the agency qualified to conduct tests are being asked to voluntarily return to the front line, while the number of permanent trainers for new examiners is being doubled. Emma Bush, Managing Director of AA Driving School, said, with the vast majority of driving test centres now showing waits at the maximum the system will allow, the situation cannot get much worse. New measures designed to start bringing down waiting times were implemented at the start of April by the DVSA. There are signs of recovery, though, putting both the industry and learners on tenterhooks for more signs of improvement in the coming months. While we would expect these changes to take a few months to show a positive impact, it is still disappointing to see that learners are continuing to face an uphill battle when it comes to booking their driving test. DVSA Chief Executive Loveday Ryder, what a name! Loveday Ryder. Fucking hell. DVSA's goal is to make booking a driving test easier and fairer for learner drivers. We are making progress on our plans. We're really grateful to everyone who has responded to our recent consultation, including learners, parents, and driving instructors. We're now analysing the survey responses. Using your feedback, we'll be able to plan our next steps on improving car test booking rules. And there we are at the end of the article. So basically, it's a mixture of mass immigration and also basically bots, like they do on Ticketmaster, booking up all the slots to then resell them. Wow, I wonder the kind of people that are doing that. But the reason I failed my first test was did everything fine, did everything perfect, and what ended up happening was we were going back to the test centre, so we were on the M8 and we were coming off at that little bit where the Euro Central is, right? And as I'm coming off, I'm in my lane, I'm doing everything absolutely properly because, you know, the driving instructor's like right there. A guy obviously wanted to get off at that cut-off and missed it, so he just drove right over the white lines into my lane, and I had to conduct an emergency stop so that I wouldn't go into the back of him. Right, I did an emergency stop. My driving instructor went, "That was very good. You were completely right to do an emergency stop. You can take off now." Now, this was something that really pissed me off, right? Did the little mirror checks, did the blind spot check, did all of that stuff, and then drove off. Now, this was a little weird niche rule that I didn't know. After an emergency stop, you're supposed to check both blind spots. Apparently, I only checked one, and that's classed as a serious, which means automatic fail. So, whoever that prick was in the white fucking Audi that doesn't know how to drive, you cost me all that money for my driving test, and you made me fail, and I had to rebook it again. So, fuck you.